Russian opposition leader Alexey Navalny dies in prison. Today on Radio AI, we explore today's explosive story. Following a short summary, we will play the top 20 comments from the opinions of over 1,000 Americans. After the comments, we will turn to Judgy Judgeston, our in-house legal and political expert, for an opinion. Enjoy our show and remember to like and subscribe.
In a searing indictment of Vladimir Putin's regime, Alexey Navalny, a prominent figure in the Russian opposition, has tragically perished within the confines of a Russian prison colony. His demise, announced by the Russian prison service with a conspicuous absence of details regarding the cause, underscores the authoritarian grip Putin maintains over dissenting voices. Navalny's final moments were shrouded in suspicion and despair. According to prison authorities, he succumbed to illness after a stroll, lapsing into unconsciousness with alarming swiftness. Despite efforts by medical personnel, Navalny could not be revived, raising grave questions about the conditions of his confinement and the efficacy of the purported rescue attempts. A vocal critic of Putin's regime, Navalny's death marks a dark chapter in the struggle for democracy and human rights in Russia. His resilience in the face of adversity, including surviving a poisoning attempt attributed to the Russian state, exemplified his unwavering commitment to challenging Putin's authoritarian rule. Moreover, Navalny's incarceration since his return to Russia in 2021, on charges widely condemned as politically motivated, highlights the lengths to which the Kremlin will go to suppress dissent and maintain its grip on power. Denied the opportunity to challenge Putin in the 2018 presidential elections and facing renewed repression ahead of Putin's impending re-election bid, Navalny's fate serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers posed to those who dare to oppose Putin's autocratic regime. As the international community grapples with the implications of Navalny's untimely demise, voices from across the globe echo calls for justice and accountability. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has demanded a thorough investigation into Navalny's death, emphasizing the urgent need for transparency and accountability in Putin's Russia. In condemning Putin's regime for its ruthless suppression of dissent, Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky draws a stark parallel between Russia's treatment of its citizens and its aggressive foreign policy. Navalny's tragic fate, reminiscent of other courageous voices silenced by state violence, serves as a somber testament to the Kremlin's unyielding authoritarianism. As the world mourns the loss of a fearless advocate for democracy and human rights, Putin's Russia stands accused, once again, of extinguishing the hopes of those who dare to dream of a better future. Navalny's death is not merely a personal tragedy, but a damning indictment of Putin's tyrannical rule and the suffocating grip of autocracy in modern-day Russia.
Thank you, Harrison. Now let's hear the opinions and comments of average Americans.
Navalny didn't die. He was killed by Putin.
Putin is literally a serial killer. Some of Putin's early victims, for example Litvinenko, Politkovskaya, warned the world of Putin's thuggish and psychopathic nature. When Navalny was poisoned with a nerve agent, his days were numbered.
We need to kill Putin. Active always defeats passive. Putin is active. The US is passive. Kill him now. There are forces in Russia that we can help to get this done.
We do not kill foreign heads if state. Perhaps you are not aware of our laws.
Laws? Oh dear. He is a ruthless dictator, unelected and a murderer, not a head of state elected by the people. You are living in a fantasy world of a protective bubble of domestic laws that others don't adhere to or care about. Like Hitler, he will kill anyone to protect his privileged position in life. You are so naive.
Putin has no idea of the events he will unleash as a result of this.
I'm pretty sure Tucker had a role in this.
Is Tucker still in Russia doing samples at Russian grocery stores? Because I'm fine with him staying there seeing as he likes it so much.
Asked if he would lock up Democrats, Trump said, "The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us." Later he promised, "I will root out the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country and will be your retribution." Kash Patel, Trump's rumored next chief of staff, said, "We're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections." Putin is Trump's model for the American presidency.
Crushing news. I hope he finally has the peace he didn't have in life. May his memory and courage be a comfort to his wife and those who loved and admired him. And may Putin soon experience the karma due him 100-fold.
This is what happens when your president has absolute immunity.
He didn't die in prison. Putin murdered him. This sickening, especially since the Republican Party is doing all they can to support Putin against our allies like Ukraine.
This is how Trump will deal with his if he gets back into the White House. Don't think for a moment that his fevered narcissism won't demand it.
Navalny repeatedly stood up for human rights. Might this finally cause American apologists for Putin to reassess? Might they finally step into the light? Might they finally stop idolizing that thug? Not likely. Right, Tucker?
I would never have as much courage as this man. To think we have a former president and current senators and House members who burnish the reputation of his murderer. So sick and sad.
What a gut punch. What a brave man. I hope he hasn't died in vain. Maybe this will get the attention of Putin apologists in the Republican Party, but it probably won't. They're counting on Vlad to get Donald into the WH again.
Putin is a disgusting coward. A light goes out in Russia. Heartbreaking, and your so-called grand old party sucks up to this filthy monster. When will Russia wake up? When will you people wake up? When will the West rally to finish this monstrous genocide attempt in Ukraine? Because we are all next on the menu, if not.
Mission accomplished. This has been the goal of Vladimir Putin all along. May Alexey Navalny finally rest in peace. And Americans stake note. This is what happens to the opposition in authoritarian states. And this is what will happen under Donald Trump.
As a retired judge who has presided over countless cases of injustice and oppression, I find myself compelled to speak out against the despicable actions of Vladimir Putin and his regime in Russia. The case of Alexey Navalny stands as a chilling testament to the lengths to which Putin will go to crush dissent and maintain his grip on power. Navalny's story is one of courage in the face of tyranny, resilience against overwhelming odds, and a steadfast commitment to the principles of democracy and justice. His unwavering defiance of Putin's regime, even after surviving a brazen assassination attempt orchestrated by the Kremlin, is nothing short of heroic. It is a damning indictment of Putin's authoritarian rule that Navalny, a vocal critic and political opponent, has been subjected to relentless persecution, harassment, and imprisonment, simply for daring to speak out against corruption and oppression. From the moment Navalny stepped back onto Russian soil, knowing full well the risks he faced, he became a symbol of hope for all those who yearn for freedom and democracy in Russia. But Putin's response has been one of brutality and repression. Navalny has been subjected to a campaign of intimidation, harassment, and physical and psychological torture aimed at breaking his spirit and silencing his voice. His incarceration in squalid prison conditions, his denial of basic medical care, and his isolation from the outside world are not only flagrant violations of his human rights, but also a stark reminder of the lengths to which Putin will go to crush dissent. As a retired judge who has dedicated my life to upholding the rule of law and defending the principles of justice and equality, I condemn in the strongest possible terms Putin's ruthless persecution of Alexey Navalny and all those who dare to oppose his regime. The world must stand united in solidarity with Navalny and the people of Russia in their struggle for freedom, democracy, and human rights. In comparing America to Russia, one cannot ignore the stark contrast between a vibrant democracy built on the rule of law and respect for human rights, and an authoritarian regime that tramples on the rights and freedoms of its citizens with impunity. While America is far from perfect and faces its own challenges, it remains a beacon of hope and opportunity for people around the world. Putin's Russia, on the other hand, represents everything that is wrong with authoritarianism, corruption, repression, and the abuse of power for personal and political gain. The international community must hold Putin and his cronies accountable for their crimes against the Russian people, and work tirelessly to support those who continue to fight for freedom and justice in the face of adversity. In conclusion, let us not forget the words of Alexey Navalny himself. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. We must not remain silent in the face of injustice. We must stand up, speak out, and defend the principles of democracy, freedom, and human rights wherever they are under threat. Only then can we hope to build a world where justice and equality prevail for all.